Hello everyone, welcome back to Alkaline Hydroxide 784. Today in the GP Overview series, we'll be looking at something that a lot of you are very familiar with. From ordering your food with a few taps on a green colored app, to being psychologically encouraged to buy yet another dress, or whatever your mojo is, on Taobao, Q0010 or Lazada, to cringing when that infamous ad featuring Cristiano Ronaldo became a thing. Yes, folks, I'm talking about e-commerce. Anyways, we probably won't be talking about the ad because I think you guys got enough cringe from that itself. And we already talked about psychology last time, so no. Anyways, that ad kind of falls into the category of ads that are weird slash cringy but still got your attention. So yeah, that is one strategy that ads do use. But instead of talking about the ads, we'll be talking about some concerns that come into mind when we talk about e-commerce. And also for good measures, I'll cover the benefits of e-commerce as well, so that you have your so-called balanced GPSA. Yeah, okay. So yeah, just to make things less sad, let's start with the benefits. So in terms of the benefits, I'll cover it in like from the point of view of kind of thing. So for the customer, the benefit is, well, of course, it's convenient. You just sit there on your laptop and then press, and then you pay in like a matter of minutes. You don't need to go out. You don't need to go to a physical store or try out, like do anything anywhere. You just do it at your home. And you can even do it like anywhere you want. It doesn't even have to be at your home specifically. You just need internet and a laptop or your phone. And apart from that, you can get products from all over the world. You can get stuff that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get in a physical store sometimes. So it could be, which would lead to increased cultural exchange or cultural product exchange in a sense. And for example, you can probably buy like things that, maybe you once went somewhere overseas and then you bought some product and then you really like it, but then you cannot get it here. But you can get it online. And then you can just easily buy it online without having to pay a expensive flight ticket to that place to buy something, or like go to your FairPrice Extra and search extra hard to find that object. You can just buy it online. So from the point of view of the sellers, well, what is the benefit for them? Generally, they can get more money because it's a bit like each of them influence the other kind of thing, because there's more people buying online. Like those who are selling online get more money out of it. And another thing is that they actually save rent on an actual shop, because shops do have rent, and that rent is quite expensive and costs quite a bit of money. So if you don't have an actual shop and all you really have is just a place to store all the goods, and that's all you need, like that's a lot less rent to pay, and it's a lot easier for them to manage. And for those who actually do have shops already, by adapting this, like by adopting the online shopping model as well, they get some extra revenue. As I mentioned earlier, the customer influence the shop and the shops influence the customers. So since more people want to buy online, they also try to go online in order to get more money. And it also kind of encourages entrepreneurship, because if you're selling a product for the first time, you don't have to go through that huge bureaucratic process of trying to get a shop. You can just sell it online, see if people like it online before you even do anything. So there is that entrepreneurship aspect to it. Okay, so if you want to get a more general idea of what kind of sellers actually exist online, this is the list that I came up with. So of course, there's the traditional shops that already exist. There's the people who are doing it for their side hustle. In other words, people like, maybe like moms or people who don't otherwise have actual work per se, but they do it as their side business kind of thing. Then there are people who are like YouTubers or celebrities who have their own online shop to sell a product that they made, or they facilitated the making of, in a sense. And then we have, as usual, the entrepreneurship, basically, which comes in the form of disruptive technology, or people who are starting, like doing Kickstarters and things like that. And of course, we have the big e-commerce giants like Amazon, Alibaba, And I guess here in Singapore we have Lazada. I mean, there's a lot of them. Basically, there's a lot of e-commerce websites nowadays. And from the point of view from the delivery services, people who work in the delivery industry, I guess they also get more money because they have to deliver more stuff. So yeah, more work for them. But for some of them, because they have more work, they are sometimes pressurized to deliver certain things within a certain time period, and that could be detrimental to their health eventually. Like they're pressurized to do the work. So yeah, that's the benefits for the different groups of people involved. And yeah, I guess it also benefits those who run like the delivery airplane service, because now commercial airlines are just going red, but those who are involved in delivery are going stronger than ever. So oh well. Yeah. But the thing is, I needed effort to think about these benefits, so let's look at what I actually want to talk about. Yeah, like the concerns and the the bad stuff, I guess. Okay, so first thing, let's talk about wastage. So let's say you're grabbing some food. I mean, in the Grab app, for that matter. And the food will come in like a plastic or a paper box that's inside a plastic bag, and then comes with some disposable chopsticks and spoons or whatever you need to eat your food. And what do you do with most of that? Well, of course, you throw it away, maybe except the plastic bag, which you might use as a trash bag. Wait, that means you still throw it, so you're basically throwing most of it. So, okay, that's probably because there's food contamination and stuff, so you can't really do much with that. But what about other things that you buy online, like for example your clothes or toys or devices or literally anything else that you buy online? Well, most of the time they also come in plastic or like some cardboard box or something like that. And some people will throw it because they're lazy. Some people will try to recycle it. And in some cases, that itself still gets thrown away because some idiot put actual trash in the recycling bin. Oh well. But in the scenario that it actually doesn't get just thrown away immediately and gets to the recycling center, well, sometimes it still won't be recycled in the recycling plant here because we don't really have the facilities for all sorts of different plastics or packaging, and sometimes there's just problems with recycling in general. So some of the like some of the stuff that needs to be recycled tends to go to China, especially from places like Australia and US. They send a lot of their stuff to recycle to China because they can deal with it themselves. And because China is receiving so much of stuff from everywhere, it's getting harder and harder to properly recycle everything. It's just a big mess. So you know where this is going, right? So even if you try it, a lot of that packaging just becomes trash and just sits around doing nothing in a landfill or some other heap somewhere. And given how much stuff we buy online, nowadays it's a staggering amount of trash. And honestly, I guess I don't really know which statistic to use. There's a bunch of statistics. You can use the one that you like in the links, I guess. Like just read the link yourself. But there's like millions and billions of tons of trash. So that's about as big as it gets. And some of it does get into the water as well. That's probably the reason why there's like all that microplastics in the water. And yeah, like one of the articles actually says that there'll probably be more plastic stuff than fish in the sea by 2025. So yay. Not good. Okay, so that is one of the concerns that comes from e-commerce, because when you order things, you tend to get even more packaging than you usually get in order to make sure the stuff inside doesn't get damaged by the shipping. And that in turn leads to a lot of packaging and extra waste. Oh well. Anyways, so the next concern, which is also somewhat related to the environment, is basically on fast shipping. So what is it about fast shipping and the environment? Basically, when you order fast delivery, like you want the thing to come within one day, what happens is that you may be contributing to higher environmental, damage in a sense, or like higher emissions in general, because like you can just read the article for more info, like the one by Vox. You can read it and get more information on it. But basically what happens is when you press the 1 day shipping, what happens is since a lot of people want the things as soon as possible, and maybe like generally if let's say they buy a bunch of different products or a few different days, then they want it shipped immediately, right? You're basically visiting the same house again and again and again within the same week just to deliver each of those individual products, and that leads to a higher demand for vehicles to transport the objects quickly. So like, and it kind of leads to more shippings, aka there's lesser objects per trip. The vehicles are carrying lesser objects, and there's more of those vehicles in general, so that everyone everywhere can get their products, and this will lead to higher emissions. So next time, try not to get 1 day shipping. Just choose the normal route, or if possible, try to get everything delivered on one single day instead of getting it delivered over a few weeks. I mean, here it's a bit different, I guess, because we are quite a small country, so the main thing is just like flying all the stuff here. That's the main part of it. But I guess in US especially, this can be quite a big deal because there's a lot of land for all of the trucks to cover, and that leads to even more emissions. But you should still try to avoid 1 day shipping. Do your part, I guess. Yeah, so that is another concern. So just now you were talking about packaging and environmental problems. But the thing is, this has become even more intensified because of the current situation. Like, people are at their house, like especially in the US, there's still a lockdown going on. And in other countries as well, there are some places where people aren't really able to go out of their houses all that much. So that means there is more online purchasing, there's less visitation of physical stores, and overall more delivery vehicles on roads everywhere. And apart from normal e-commerce, there's also increased e-commerce in supplies like medical equipment, PPE, and medical devices. So actually, if you're wondering, well, okay, maybe after this is over, it'll become, less, like there'll be less e-commerce afterwards. But the thing is, the reason why e-commerce is even popular to begin with is because of a pandemic, aka the SARS one. The SARS and all the other things that have happened in the past, that those things have actually fueled the rise of e-commerce, and e-commerce has been quite popular in the last few years. So it just means that the e-commerce will be here to stay and will be even more intensified even after the pandemic. So yeah, actually there is a relationship between pandemics and e-commerce, and it's not just during the pandemic. So the point is, because of this situation, there is more environmental impact in that area. Although I guess there's lesser environmental impact in the sense that people are not flying anywhere else, or people are using external, sources of, like, they don't visit places as much, because that's actually quite a big contributor to environmental damage as well. But anyways, yeah. Oh yeah, you remember during the circuit breaker, there was like, all those delivery apps for NTUC and Redmart and all that. They were all being maxed out. Yeah, you can see some links on that, so do enjoy looking at it. And in the Straits Times article with some graphs on it, like there was one very interesting graph, like bunch of graphs. Like one of them showed that people were buying bubble tea the most, which I think is not very surprising. Then there was another thing that showed that the demand for workout equipment was also increasing, and I found it quite interesting that both of those things were increasing at the same time. So, oh well. Anyways, so yeah, like seeing that there's more things going on, like being bought online rather than in real life, this does bring up a different concern that is not really environmental related per se, but more of in terms of the commerce sector in general, which is the disappearance of brick and mortar stores. So yeah, here's my explanation of why, like what can happen or what are the effects of this. Basically, when people buy online, they are not buying in store. I guess that's pretty obvious, that you buy online more than you buy in stores less. That's very easy to understand. And that would affect stores who primarily rely on a loyal group of customers, because there are some, like, generally a lot of smaller shops rely on like this certain group of customers who keep buying from them, especially the older generation. They will keep buying from one single store, and once they know that they can trust the product, they will just keep going and buying from there. But since they cannot get newer loyal customers because all the newer customers are buying online, well, they have a lesser group of, like, lesser number of loyal customers, and probably some of those customers themselves may start buying online, especially during this situation. So, those shops are probably the most affected because their customer base is basically decreasing, and unless they go online, it's going to be hard for them. So some stores adapt by going online as well as in store, or maybe they have the option to buy online and collect in store, that kind of thing. And that kind of helps a few of them. And it especially helps the grocery stores because they can get their delivery apps maxed out. Oh man. And there are definitely some that are affected by the fact that they can't really do it as well, or like even if they do it, there's a certain limitation to how much they can do it. And also some are affected by rent, because I mentioned just now rent is actually quite expensive, so the rent is increasing every day, but the customer base is decreasing, so that is making it harder for them to actually run their shop in general. So yeah, like, as I mentioned, there's a limitation to them going online. Well, I guess the main limitation would be caused by the fact that there's already really big e-commerce giants. So like the fact that, for example, we have GrabFood, Lazada, all that means that the shop or restaurant either has to join them, like they have to join that big platform and be a part of it, and follow the rules that are set there. Like, so if they have to pay a part of the money, they have to do it, or they just have to survive on their own somehow, and that is quite hard to do unless you have enough customers to go online and help you in that sense. So yeah, that's the main problem. Like, unless you're someone like NTUC or Redmart, like NTUC basically has a lot of people buying from it already, so they can afford to have their own online shop. But like all the smaller shops and all the smaller shops cannot really do that because their customers may not even know if they have an online shop to begin with. Yeah, so that's the scenario that we are in. So this leads to lesser brick and mortar stores. Well, I guess it would be mostly affecting the stores themselves, but it could be affecting some people who prefer visiting the brick and mortar stores as well, because especially for clothing and stuff like that, some people wouldn't want to buy online just because you may not get the size you want, and they would prefer to go to an actual shop. But if the shops are actually closing down, they have a lesser variety of places to actually go and buy stuff. Even though right now it's still pretty good, like the number of places you can buy is still pretty good, but over time it could decrease, and that might be bad in some sense. Yeah. And it may lead to more monopolization of certain industries by bigger companies who can actually capitalize on the online market. So yeah, there's this video about Walmart trying to join the e-commerce sector to fight Amazon. So this is in US, of course. And in US, Walmart is a pretty popular place because people buy a lot of things from there. And they're trying to have their own online service, like online deal thing that they can buy, like how Amazon has Amazon Prime. And I'm not sure how well that's gonna work, but they're trying, I guess. So if even they are having some trouble doing it, imagine all the little shops. Oh well. Yeah, so you can just watch the video yourself. Okay, so the final thing that we'll be talking about today is the security concerns of buying online. Right, of course there is that concern of giving your credit card details online, but since most people buy from big platforms which are pretty, hopefully, secure enough, let's focus on other things like the stuff that you get from the online shop. So in terms of the card details and all that, I think we'll cover that in a different topic, maybe like cryptography or something like that. So we'll talk about that in a different episode. But today we'll be talking about the stuff that you buy online. So first off, there are definitely some things that you buy that aren't exactly the thing that you wanted. So like on online, as I mentioned last time, the stuff that you see online is basically purely visual. So you have to depend on what you see, what picture you see. And you have to hopefully trust that the product will actually look like the thing that's in the picture. So there are many cases where you buy stuff and the stuff doesn't look like what's in the picture, or they're actually quite defective or even dangerous. And this mostly happens with electronic devices in terms of the danger aspect of it. Because sometimes I think this was more of a problem a few years ago rather than right now. But I remember seeing like videos of people buying stuff from Wish, and because of that, like the device that they bought on Wish, of course, Wish isn't a trustable place. Don't buy it from Wish, honestly. If you buy from Amazon or Lazada, it should be better. But like, let's say if you buy it from Wish, what happens is sometimes the product may not even be the actual product, and it's because it's sold at a much cheaper rate than the original product in to begin with. But most of the time, I'm not sure they're actually dangerous or anything, but they're mostly defective in a way, or at least they don't really work as well as you hope them to work, I guess. So, yeah. But apparently, I was searching about, I was trying to see if there's any articles about those electronics from China being dangerous, for example, because that was where most of the concerns were occurring in like the last few years. And there was this article about China, like this. I'm not sure if it's real. Like, I mean, it is a real news, but is it proven already or not? I'm not sure. There was this whole thing about China putting some chips into the devices and then sending it, and those devices were going to US. So I have no idea what that's about. You can read that for yourself. It just sounds a bit crazy and at the same time sounds kind of true. So yeah, it's an actual news. It's just not sure if that was actual thing. It's like a hacking kind of thing. So, oh well. Anyways, but I'm not gonna talk about that because that's a different thing. I'm just mostly saying that sometimes what you buy online may not be what you actually wanted to buy. So you have to be careful when you're buying things online. And maybe don't buy from Wish. That's probably rule number one. Don't buy from Wish. Yeah, so but I think nowadays it's become better, especially if you're aware where to buy and where not to buy. If you buy from Amazon, it's usually okay. The products actually work. Or like Lazada as well, the stuff there will usually work. So should be okay. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think instead of calling it security concern, it's more of like fake stuff alert, I guess. Yeah, deceiving, I guess. Anyways, yeah, that's it for today. I hope you found this video useful, and maybe if you write a GP essay on the e-commerce industry, you have some points to start off from. So if you found this video useful, please press the like button and subscribe. And with that, I would like to say thank you and bye.